Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Greatness Delayed podcast. I'm your host, Michael Zupan from Byte-Size I'm here this evening, as usual, with my co-host, Gus. How's it going, Gus?
Mike, it's been so long, even though we talk semi-regularly, but it's
We
just been a
have been talking
while.
semi-regularly, like more
But
regularly than usual.
yeah, but like it's been a while. And in fact, I think the little Hangouts thing says the last time we did this had to be like March or something.
Yeah, it was a wicked long time ago. It really wasn't even that long after the Switch launched, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a while because I've played some games, you've played some games. I just want to apologize to everybody real quick that my voice sounds like absolute horseshit. My reflux, I guess, is bothering my vocal cords a little bit today, but it's an impromptu podcast because one, I have time and Gus has time, and we haven't had a lot of that lately, have we, Gus?
Yeah, and like if anyone's watching or listening, like some people might know, I even have another podcast, Fameless Nameless, and even our last episode was back in May, and we, even though like me and my co-host, my friend Jenna, like we have been talking and hanging out regularly, but like we just haven't found the time to even record a new episode, and hoping that changes soon, especially as New York Comic Con is around the corner. So
And I encourage anybody who has not checked that podcast out to go and do so.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. But yeah,
Now,
like we've been busy. We have our own thing, you and I, going on, and we've been kind of busy with that too. But yeah, life has just been getting in the way, right?
it has. I won't go into the details, but I will say that Gus and I have been writing for a video game related magazine that's going to be distributed across Europe fairly soon. We'll talk about that more once we're able to, but that's kind of part of the reason why the podcast hasn't been happening. That and life happens,
Life.
life. Speaking of life, there's always video games in our lives.
That's
So
true. We've still found the time.
you're goddamn right we found the time to play video games, always. So what have you been playing?
Where do I even start? Okay, well, let's go with the most recent stuff. So this week, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle released for the Nintendo Switch. That's still
Sure
around.
did.
And it's still alive and kicking. I played some of that earlier, and it's pretty good. Like I thought I was going into like basically a Mario XCOM game, but it's a little different to that, but it's pretty fun.
It
I'm
is.
I'm not too far in now.
No, I'm not very far in either, but I was actually really surprised because I'm typically the kind of guy who really doesn't like the tactical RPG style kind of games. So, like Valkyria Chronicles, I think it was called on PS3.
I
Is that the
remember.
name of that game? Yeah,
Yes.
stuff like that. While it looks awesome to me, like I don't like that combat system. And the same sort of goes for XCOM. But I heard a lot of good reviews about this game, and my son's been wanting to play it too. I know Gabe's going to be hearing this. He's like, "Oh yeah, sure, your fucking son. Yeah, right, sure." I definitely bought it mainly for myself, but my son factored into the decision.
There's
So
also a two-player mode. I'm looking at the back of the case right now.
yeah, I just wonder if it would still be too hard for him because a lot of reviews are saying, it's a difficult game, and I haven't reached that part of the game yet. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But we could give it a shot. I might create a namer tag for him to use on the Switch, and then we can start a new save for him and I to play together. Use, share the love, as they say, for the Nintendo. But yeah, I typically hate those kinds of games, and I thought for the longest time I flat out said this game looks like garbage. And I said specifically on Twitter just within this last week before the game came out, I said it's just not my thing. That's why I say that. It looks like garbage to me. And also I had to question what the appeal was going to be for a wide audience, though. Because yeah, it's Mario. Yes, it's Rabbids. I don't think Rabbids are quite as relevant anymore these days. I know that they've had a TV show some time back, and I know that they've been part of the Rayman universe and everything.
When I see the Rabbids, I feel like like Ubisoft dropped the ball on them, because when you look at them, clearly the precursor to the Minions, and those things are taking over the world. And I'm just like, how did Ubisoft drop the ball on this? How are Rabbids not taking over the world?
How did Ubisoft not get a decent Assassin's Creed movie made? I don't fucking know, man. That thing was a fucking hot dumpster fire. That thing was, but I think we've talked about that earlier this year a little bit, I think.
Probably.
Um, so yeah, I thought I was going to hate this, but all the reviews had been positive. So I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot because I saw some gameplay footage on Twitch and I said, this actually looks like it could be fun. So I picked it up and I gave it a shot, and I think it's great so far.
Yeah, like I'm still learning like how to play it basically. So I'm still in the basics of like cover and attacking, and then I've seen some people talk about these like advanced techniques and moves and stuff, and that I'm like I can't wait to get into that stuff and to get more characters on the roster.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like it almost seems like in the early part of the game that taking cover is kind of like a little bit of a fruitless endeavor if you're too close, because they're just going to reposition themselves anyway. And every turn that you have and every turn that the enemy has consists of two parts: you being able to move somewhere and then being able to fire at your opponent. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure what the point is.
Yeah,
I'm sure it comes into play later on much more than it has been in the early part of the game, but
yeah, just you just don't want to basically be out in the open. But regardless, like everyone's going to reposition themselves, like you said.
I do have to say the last bit of the game that I played, and this is the early part of the game, there is one section where the rabbits that I'm going after, or who are coming after me specifically, are actually on the other side of this little stream of water. And there's blocks along the bank of the stream that I have to kind of keep moving to get, from cover to cover to cover to get to where I'm going, because it's one of those places in the game where you have to move from point A to point B without losing everybody in your party. So yeah, I can see where cover comes into play much more importantly in situations like that.
Yeah. And especially like the positioning of your characters, because you can also bounce off your characters basically to get to farther areas, which is kind of funny. So it's fun to do that whole like you dash into an enemy, run back, and then you bounce off your partner into like some other area where they can't get you.
Yep. Yeah, it's great. It takes a little bit, there's a little bit of a learning curve, especially if you're someone like me who hasn't played these types of games very much before, but I don't feel like it takes too long to kind of get the hang of what you're supposed to be doing. I think it takes time to master, but yeah, so far the game is doing a pretty good job of easing me into that style of gameplay.
Yeah.
So, what else have you been playing since the last time we recorded?
Like a lot of stuff, but like I guess the major stuff I'll get more into. So I'm still into Splatoon 2. Not as I put in like apparently like 30 something hours into Splatoon 2 according to the Switch profile thing. It's actually I didn't actually play the first game. I didn't buy it on Wii U. Yeah,
blasphemy!
I was one of those people.
You had a Wii U, right?
I do, yeah.
How
It's
did
actually
you not get Splatoon? It was like one of the only games in the last couple of years that was worth buying.
That's a good question. It just never happened, and so but like this, so everything is I did do the when they were doing the playtest stuff. So I did technically play that first game. But yeah, Splatoon 2 it's fun, but like the thing is like the multiplayer stuff and like the salmon run, which is the cooperative like horde mode thing, that stuff's fun, but I can never get past all the like little Nintendo things that are in that game. Like when you fire the game up, you're like always going to sit through a cutscene of like the two characters, Pearl and Marina, like updating you on the levels.
And the fact that they included that surprises me a lot, because I figured that was a major point of contention with the first game, because the first game did the same thing, and here it is again. waiting through all that. Like, you can't skip that intro cutscene. I think I did like a rage post on Twitter, like when the game launched. I was like, just let me skip the fucking beginning cutscene. I don't care what levels are on, because that's all they're doing. They're telling you, okay, this is the maps for regular mode. Here's the league mode maps and blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't care. Just let me get into gameplay, please.
And then this is this game's biggest point of contention, is that the salmon run, for now anyway, runs on like a certain schedule. And it's not always the most convenient times for people, where it's just like from 10 p.m. until 2 p.m. the next day, like this level is open for salmon run. And then when you're in the online lobby for the multiplayer, you can't back out. Like once you're locked into a game, or not even if you're not locked into a game at all, you just can't back out of it. And you can't change your equipment. You have to like make sure you have everything you want ready before you even jump into the multiplayer, or else like you're just stuck with what you've got and you can't back out.
Yeah, it would be nice if they let you select your weapons and your gear like in between matches while you're waiting.
Yeah.
Like a lot of multiplayer games let you do that. I don't know why that's not built in the Splatoon.
And it's hard to even go into the specific stuff about like, like you're always with multiplayer stuff, you're always going to have people complaining about this weapon's overpowered, this one needs a nerf, this stage that. Like I don't really have anything specific regards to that. Like I feel like I do okay with like mostly like any sort of machine gun type of weapon, or actually I had been using this new splosh thing, bucket thing, which is
how is that? I haven't used it yet.
I forgot what it's called. It's not even just a splosh. It's like something else. It's like a whirly sort of thing, and I'm mostly about the range instead of like actually damaging any enemies. But I understand why you would do that. But I'm mostly about covering the turf. And it's done me pretty well so far. And I know we've talked about this off camera, but I tend to play with the Joy-Cons like in each hand, kind of like a Wii Remote Joy and a nunchuck kind of thing. So,
yeah, I tried that based on your suggestion, and it wasn't for me. No.
I mean, that's the only way I can play that game, basically. And like, I feel like I do all right with like, pretty much any weapon, any like slosh bucket type weapon or an assault weapon. I'm not a big fan of like the sniper rifles and stuff.
Yeah, me either. I use the Splat Dualies for now.
Those are good too. I like those.
Yeah, I like anything. I mean, they have an okay range on them, and they have a high rate of fire, which is good for when people come up on you. So pretty good all around weapon.
I think my favorite one though has been the one that looks like the NES Zapper. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah, they had the Zapper in the first Splatoon too.
Yeah, that's a good gun.
It is for a single pistol kind of gun. It has an okay range.
Yeah,
a little lesser than the dualies, I think, but it's got a high rate of fire. So again, good for painting and killing.
Yeah, I haven't done much of the ranked modes really. Like, I did like one of each, and I'm just like, maybe I'll go back to these. I don't know.
I just do the casual stuff. I haven't even done Salmon Run yet, because don't you have to link up with people that you know to do that?
Actually, you can go into that Grisco Industries building, and then when it's open for business, quote, like at whatever times, you go into the building, and you can actually just hook up with random people.
Oh, good.
Or yeah, like you get your friends together, and like someone creates a room and they can join, and you can even have random people like join your crew, and you just get it, and you start playing your games. Salmon Run is probably like the highlight of that game, though, for me anyway. Because if I'm being honest, I'm more of a co-op and horde type of person than like multiplayer, but I do play multiplayer stuff.
So since this is your first time with a Splatoon game, how do you feel about playing a multiplayer game that isn't just about killing the other players in the other team, where you can actually participate just by splatting paint everywhere? You don't even have to really engage until you die and then have to start back at the spawn point again. How's that experience been for you?
I do. I like the whole turf war concept. Like, I think it's just fun in general because like a lot of players are like trying to like get that area covered and they're trying to do their thing. And I do like finding another teammate and like helping that. There's a weird, nice sense of teamwork in there without this like we need to like communicate in depth, which is funny to say considering all the hubbub about communicating in this game.
Yep. I never felt the need to want to chat with people in this game.
Yeah, like I don't. It's just so funny that we all had that whole like hubbub about the headset and all that when really like even in Salmon Run, which I mean, arguably that one you could probably stand to talk to people in that mode, but even then, like you can. I'm on the highest rank version. I'm on the highest rank they offer for Salmon Run, and I did it without talking to anybody basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but like I mean, I always appreciate a multiplayer game like that. That's like a change of pace and like the objective and stuff, and especially Splatoon because I don't know how many multiplayer games is like cover one part of a whole, cover most of a map to win. You know, you have your capture the flags in multiplayer games, and like you have stuff like Overwatch where it's like escort the payload or like hold on to this King of the Hill shit and.
Yeah, the closest thing that I can think of is the new Battlefield game that's out, where you have to work your way across the entirety of a map. But you're just breaking that down, taking over the map section by section by section. It's not like Splatoon where it's a constant. I mean, yeah, the other team can push back too.
Yeah.
But it's not like Splatoon where it's like a percentage of the field covered at any given time could just change at the blink of an eye.
I noticed in Splatoon also that is a game where you can be pretty damn clutch. Like you can go like the matches are like 3 minutes long, but if like once it does the whole countdown, I think once it's like 30 seconds left in a match, you can turn the tide like fairly easily, like half the time. Like
you can
check the map and it looks like you're about to lose, and then boom, like you can all instantly just cover like what you have to as long as like you're still in the time.
Yeah, as long as your teammates, end up not dying basically, because that's precious seconds away from them being on the battlefield and actually splatting the map.
Yeah.
It really does come down to the wire, and you really only need that last 30 seconds in order to succeed if you've been failing the rest of the time.
Yeah.
That's probably the best part about the game, because you never up until the very like last 10 seconds feel like it's hopeless.
That's true. Yeah. Like I've had a lot of clutch moments, and I've had a lot of on the other side of clutch moments, basically. The only thing is that Nintendo really needs to do something about people who are either intentionally disconnecting or like their internet is weak or something, because if someone like disconnects during a match, like it's 3-on-4 and it's basically like good luck.
One time I let my son play, and instead of turning the game off when he was finished, he just left it there. So I came back to the Switch and there was a message on my screen saying like, yeah, something must have happened with your internet connection, but try not to let that happen too many times. So they might do something about that if, someone is a repeat offender.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't want to like get angry about it, and I don't want to be presumptuous, and maybe some people's internet sucks, which is like, well, maybe don't play this game, please.
Yeah, when you end up on uneven teams, which to be fair, almost never happens in this game, it sucks because you need that extra person.
Yeah.
Unless like everybody on your team is like the shit, which rarely happens because you have such a wide range of skill levels and ages playing together at the same time. But yeah, you need everybody on your team.
Yep.
So that sucks when it happens. But yeah, Splatoon 2, for anybody who's wondering, the thing that a lot of people wanted to know beforehand was like, does this game really justify the 2 at the end of Splatoon? Is this really a sequel? It just looks like more of the same. And, minus the addition of Salmon Run, it really is more of the same, just different maps. But I feel like the major differences are in the way that they fine-tuned the way that they design these maps. I feel like there's a couple of larger maps that there's a lot of ground to cover, but like I feel like most of the maps are a little bit smaller than they were in the first game, so that you're forced to engage the other players a little bit more. So that keeps things a little faster paced and a little bit more exciting while you're playing. So it's little changes like that that I think really went a long way in making the sequel even better than the first game for me. I know you can't really comment on that because you haven't played the first one, but yeah. But yeah, it's if you've played the original game and you're wondering if this is any different, it's not, and that's not a bad thing because Splatoon is great.
Yeah, so, it's definitely one of the more fun like multiplayer experiences I've had.
Oh hell yeah! And speaking of fun multiplayer experiences, one of the other games that you and I have both been playing, and we never talked about it because we haven't recorded in so long, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel bad because it's been a while since I've actually touched Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, you know, I've been spending a lot of time in Splatoon and everything, but I still occasionally pop in Mario Kart 8 to try and rack up some coins so I could get my goddamn Zelda bike. You need like thousands of coins to get that shit. It's crazy. I just want that thing to unlock already.
Yeah, I haven't. Have you tried that thing where it's like, I think if you pick like, I don't know, like your Mii character, let's say, and I think versus Donkey Kong, and then you set the 50cc races to like, I don't even know, like 48 races, let's say, and I think like it's supposed to happen in such a way in which you can set the races on autopilot, and like your character will basically drive a certain path and just grab every coin along the way. You can just keep doing this for like 48 races or whatever the max is, and just rack up coins like to get that.
Oh damn, I didn't even know that you could do that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to earn my coins that way. I mean, it's easy enough to pick them up when you're playing either solo or even multiplayer, and the coins that you pick up while you're in multiplayer also count, so towards unlocking stuff, that is. So I don't really feel the need to do it. I feel like it's, I mean, you know, almost like 8 to 10 coins a clip. Not bad. I mean, anybody who's playing this game who's worth their salt are going to pick up those coins because it actually enhances your drivability a little bit too. It like finer tunes your cart.
Oops, sorry. Mike was being weird. But yeah, that's true too. But I mean, I feel like I just haven't gotten in depth with Deluxe. Like I definitely played more like online than the single player stuff. I guess because a lot of stuff was available to you like from the get-go, and they threw DLC stuff in there too.
Yep. Yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe includes all of the DLC that was originally released, and it even has new content that wasn't available in the initial game, which is a big plus because when Mario Kart came out for the Wii U, my biggest complaint was, what the fuck is this battle mode, Nintendo? What's with this shit?
Oh, yeah.
Because the battle mode, it just felt like, oh, we don't have enough time. Let's just do this. Because battle mode, typically from the Super Nintendo original Mario Kart game forward, had been these special arenas that basically everybody plays in, and they have to confront each other, and everybody has these balloons on the back of their carts, and they're going to get hit with shells or whatever else. And the goal is to be the last one left with balloons on your cart. In Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, what they did was you're playing through normal races. The only difference is that you have balloons on the back of your cart. And it's like, if you're racing, you're supposed to get hit anyway. But if you're so far ahead of the other person that they don't have a shot at catching you, like there's no point to it because you're not going to turn around and like dogfight each other on the track, you know, like the implementation there was just weird. It honestly would have been better if it wasn't included at all because it was absolutely worthless.
I never touched it, but I definitely did play the battle mode in this version, and it was
it's fun, right?
Yeah, it's good because there were a lot of variations to it because it's not even just the balloon stuff. Like my favorite one, I think the one that was like, this is fucking funny, is
Cops and
Robbers.
Yes,
that's the
Yeah.
It's very cool. I think that's a very cool mode.
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, one of the battle modes in Mario Kart 8 is cops and robbers, as we just said, where one team is carts with piranha plants, and then the other team is just, other drivers.
They're
And
like fugitives.
yeah, they're fugitives, and the piranha
Justice.
plants are the cops, and the piranha plants drive around and have to chomp the other players. And every time one gets chomped, they get put into a cage. Now, their goal is to make sure everybody is captured at the same time, but this is tricky because the other team has the option to run over a switch in the middle of the track, which opens up the cage and lets everybody drive out. So it's a constant back and forth struggle where it's like one person could be left driving around on the robbers team, and you're like biting your nails like, oh my God, are they going to get him? Is he going to let us out? Is he going to let us out? And it's just so fun and exhilarating. It's probably the most fun mode in the multiplayer, like Gus said, for me too.
Yes.
But yeah, but there's other modes too. Like there's one where every single question block that you run across is just bombs, and everybody's dropping or throwing bombs at each other. Bombs, I'm sorry. And the other one is pretty much more your straight battle mode, the way that it should be.
And then there's the one where it's like, the shine one too, where you have to like hold on to the shine, I think, for like the longest or something.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, and they're all a lot of fun.
That's a lot better than like what you described in the Wii U version, because that is just like, what is that?
Yeah, it was just a normal race with balloons on your fucking cart. It was pointless. It was pointless.
I kind of wonder. I know like Nintendo put out Splatoon 2, but I wonder if like they plan on supporting Mario Kart 8. Like,
there's been a lot of question about that since the game's been released, among fan communities. Like, oh, do you think Nintendo's going to release more DLC for Mario Kart 8 now? Personally, I don't think they're going to. I think this is it. That's just my opinion, though. That's just my take.
It's possible.
I just think it would be suicide because like they're re-releasing a game. And of course, Nintendo has that sort of 50-50 thing going on whenever they re-release a game for the Nintendo Switch. The one side of the argument is like, holy shit, we just paid for this on the Wii U. Why should I buy it again? But the other side of the argument is, yeah, but there's a lot of people who didn't even have a Nintendo Wii U. So this is perfect for them to pick up the game now.
Yeah.
So in that respect, what's the harm in releasing it? Like, you don't have to buy it, but I did because I know that's where the player base is going to be, and multiplaying Mario Kart 8 is a blast. And as you were saying, that's probably the best part of the game overall.
Yeah.
But it's way more challenging.
And the thing also is that Mario Kart multiplayer on Switch is technically locally easier than like it would have been on Wii U, because I can just take the two Joy-Cons, slap the wrist thing, and just hand it off to someone, and like we're doing local multiplayer. Like I was doing that a while back with some people, where I just had extra controllers. I didn't have to worry about like, can't do local, sorry. Like, boom, psh, psh, like took these Joy-Cons out and we're racing off.
Yeah, I'm fortunate because I picked up a Pro controller. So when I'm playing with my son, he's doing that, and I'm playing, with the other controller. So that's been cool. Having the Pro controller has been nice. I have not regretted that decision at all. I regret the fact that it was $70. I mean, fuck you, Nintendo.
No, you want to talk about fuck you, Nintendo? So, a while back, I bought the yellow Joy-Cons, which are very nice, I think. I use them primarily. And then, just out of sheer curiosity, these came with the black wrist straps, like they do, like all Joy-Cons do.
Yep.
But they sell yellow wrist straps for this particular Joy-Con, and I'm like, let me look at those. And then I see they're like $8, and I'm like, I don't know that I want to pay $8 for wrist straps. And then I looked further into it, $8 for one wrist strap. Nintendo sells them individually. They don't even sell. There's a piece of plastic and a nylon fiber like rope.
That's horseshit.
And they
Like they sell the Joy-Cons. They sell together and separately, right?
They do, but like pieces of plastic and fucking nylon rope, and you can't even put 2 in one box.
Hey, it's got to have that little metal rail on there too. Come on.
Oh God, man. Usually, like, I understand. Like, this is not me defending Nintendo at all, but like, usually when we go that route where they rail against Nintendo on some stupid ass decision, like, I tend to just take a deep breath, and I'm just like, "Yup, that sounds like Nintendo." This was the one. This somehow became the final straw where I was like, "You can't put 2 wrist straps in one box." I was like shouting at my monitor, "Fuck you, Nintendo!"
Yep.
Speaking of "fuck you, Nintendo," Mike, I don't mean to hijack this show.
Go for it.
So, we hadn't recorded in a long time, and during these months, Nintendo did something that we kind of expected them to do, and they had announced the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic.
Yes, they did.
Succeeding hardware to the NES Classic, which launched last fall, if you didn't know, because you probably didn't get one because all the scalpers got one.
But you did, though.
I did. I lucked out on that the first time around, and the second time around, boy, that's a battle. That was totally a battle.
You have one pre-order now, though, don't you?
I do, and I keep checking that email to see, like, waiting for Walmart to cancel that shit, but apparently, like, it's just well and good for now. But yeah, I'm sure everyone knows the story by now, is that they announced it. They were kind of skeevy on the pre-orders, but they were like, well, this is a limited. They were this time forthcoming about it being a limited item, and they were, you good?
Yeah, that's a telephone.
Then they were like, oh, we're gonna totally step up production this time, we swear. Up until the end, that they're only gonna make enough for like the end of the year or whatever, and that would have been just it. And then sometime in the last 2 weeks or so, the pre-orders just randomly went up like in the middle of the night for some retailers, and some people got them in, others didn't. It became like the usual shit show that one would expect from this thing.
Yeah, the pre-order sold out in something like 6 minutes, right? Something like that.
Yeah, well, the first initial batch was from Amazon and Best Buy, and they went up seriously in like the middle of the night, like 2-3 in the morning or something like that. And they went out in seconds, I presume. I was sleeping because I had stuff to do. And then that following day, like, the rest of the retailers threw up their pre-orders. Like, Walmart threw theirs up. It was gone literally in seconds. Like, I had one in my cart the first time, and then I had something in my cart. I'm like, oh, I don't want this shit. And then I had to erase it. And that extra time I wasted deleting this item from my cart, like, boom, like, it was gone. And Target was the same issue. Like, Target wouldn't let me finalize my credit card, so I couldn't get the order. GameStop, ironically, was like sort of smart about it. They were like, "Oh, okay, it's 1 in the afternoon, and we're only taking pre-orders in store." But even in store, they were gone like that, just like that. I just snapped my fingers if you couldn't hear. It was a mess, just a whole mess. And then something happened where, if you use Twitter, if you're playing games and buying games and you use Twitter, you likely follow.
Keep talking. Hold on 1 second, Gus.
Sure. If you play games and you use Twitter, you likely follow Wario64, and he's always tweeting out deals on games and stuff. And he was tweeting. He tweeted out the link for the SNES Classic, and it was just like a totally different link that Walmart had. Than the previous link they had, and that's basically how I got the pre-order in. It seemed like it was a little better this time. People were able to actually get the SNES pre-order in, but I was still seeing some people say that they had theirs canceled, like if they had an extra pre-order in, because it really seemed like they were adamant on making sure everyone gets only one SNES per order. and I guess they're trying to sort of play it fair this time around, but like this whole thing is just a mess again. And
I'm really not surprised. I mean, with this went down with the Nintendo Mini, the Mini Nintendo Mini NES, whatever the hell they called it, and Nintendo said, "Oh no, we're going to be making more of these," but like there was no doubt in my mind that they were going to not have enough of these ready for pre-order time.
Yeah. I think my frustration, it's funny because like the whole like situation between the NES Classic and now this has been like discussed pretty frequently, and I feel like my biggest thing, and I know a lot of times this discussion is about how much scalpers suck, and I think the system in which scalpers are allowed to order like these things in bulk, and the fact that these retailers don't implement some sort of like verification check that to keep people from ordering like 80 is an issue. I understand too, like, if people want to buy for a friend or a family member, but like you have to take some sort of measure because Europe did not have a single issue getting their pre-orders in for this thing. And I think my frustration, I'm sorry, the biggest one is that you make these plug and play things, and I understand how protective you are of your brand and all that, but like this should just be a thing that a family, that like a mother or like a family can just fucking walk into a Walmart and just buy for their damn kid, like not line up at 6 a.m. on Thanksgiving or whatever,
right?
And on the hopes of getting one. Like, that's what actually like kind of excited me about that NES Classic before they just pulled this whole it's a limited item out of their ass. I was like, that's so cool that Nintendo would make like a plug and play console, like, and because Nintendo is, and say what you will about it, because Nintendo is pretty protective of their quality, so to speak, in their own way. You would think, this is going to be like the best version of a plug and play console for Nintendo games that there could be, because Nintendo's not going to allow like a subpar quality product. And like in the context of, I don't know if you've ever seen like the Sega Genesis one that they kind of trot out there.
Yeah, the one that actually will even play Sega Genesis cartridges, that one?
Yeah, where like the audio is like completely borked and they throw a bunch of shovelware garbage games in there before you can even get to the Genesis games, and it's like a mess, and and that's not what Nintendo's not going to throw shovelware in there.
But at the same time, so you bought the NES Mini.
I did, yeah.
And you got it, and you've messed with it.
Yes.
And after that, you thought that like the SNES Mini would be worth it.
Yeah, because I think it's a neat concept. I mean, the plug and play is not like a new concept, but I like the idea of having this little plastic hub of just like any SNES games in one place, and it's convenient. And yeah, and looking at the list of games, and I mean, I think with me too is that basically I did grow up during the NES era, but the SNES, like the 16-bit era, I guess, is where like video games started meaning something to me. But like Earth, there we go. I was actually playing that on 3DS. I was like, I need a portable.
Which a long time ago, I told you to play Donkey Kong Country 2. Did this happen yet?
No.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Oh man, but it's funny. I kept looking at it every time on the eShop. I'm like, I should just get this, right?
It's like the best platformer on the Super Nintendo.
I don't even
for sure. If you haven't played it, you need to.
They only threw the first one on that SNES Classic, right?
I don't know. I want to say maybe it is missing.
Speaking of the SNES like games, apparently, and the biggest selling point, I think, according at least for some people anyway, is that they're finally officially releasing Star Fox 2.
Yes, and I played the ROM that's been floating out there for the last couple years. I actually did like a stream of it from beginning to end. It was like 25 minutes to beat.
Oh wow.
I don't know if they've done any additional work on the game though. Like, but the game that I played seemed pretty complete. Mostly complete. And if that's what's going to end up on the SNES Mini, like I'm not really interested anyway. And you know somebody's going to be taking that ROM off of that thing somehow and putting it on the internet anyway.
Yeah. But the thing is too that the SNES, they whatever licensing they got worked out and however they figured it out, like the Super FX stuff that kept Star Fox from the virtual console like all those years, and that one version, and how we kept getting the Game Boy, is it the Game Boy Advance version of Yoshi's Island? But we're getting like the SNES Yoshi's Island like after Lord knows how long, because we always kept getting the GBA version.
That's going to be interesting because they're basically emulating these games through these mini consoles. But since it's Nintendo that's working out the emulation, I'm assuming that it's going to be fine. But like Yoshi's Island is notoriously one of the most difficult games to emulate properly from the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
So
that's my understanding too. So I wonder how that works out.
I'm going to assume it works 100%, but if it doesn't and it has issues, then that's going to be a massive shitstorm when this thing hits.
Yeah.
But apparently, I guess there's been some talking online about some patents dropping for new N64 controllers. So people are thinking Nintendo might be gearing up the year after this to drop the mini N64.
And I'm not trying to go into hot take territory here. That's kind of where I stop. I'm like, I'm good. Like, and I understand like
hold up a second. If they end up dropping this thing with Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, so on and so forth. I don't think they probably can do Banjo-Kazooie.
If they hit GoldenEye on there, yeah, hell yeah, I'm in.
But that's another rare game, but
yeah, but that's like tied into. I doubt they would have to really, really pay up. I don't even know who, Activision, I guess, like
probably
for the license.
And the fact that Rare is owned by Microsoft at this point, and that they have Banjo-Kazooie on the Microsoft platform available in HD. Yeah. Also, Conquer, that's another one that's also with Microsoft because of Rare. Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, for example, also has like HD ports out there that are being sold. So who knows if that would be allowed. They'd have to kind of dig deep because like the N64, the games that I love on the Nintendo 64, I love, and I love them deeply and I love them dearly, but there's not many of them.
Yeah, this is my thing, is that like, you know, the NES and the SNES Classic are like mostly first party stuff, and this is obviously be like a subjective thing. Like most of the many fond memories I had of the N64, with the exception of like Ocarina of Time and Mario 64, like came from third parties, and mostly Rare. You know, like, because realistically, like the games I would want to see that, but like probably won't happen, is like Body Harvest, which is from DMA Design, which is a pretty good game if you ever manage to play it one day.
Okay.
There's GoldenEye, which would be like legal mumbo jumbo left and right. Like
Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire.
I like that game. I did like that game.
Controls are terrible.
I don't know how I would want to play that now.
Yeah, I mean, I have an N64 and I picked up Shadows of the Empire and I have played it, and yeah, especially when there's something like Battlefront out there right now.
Yeah. Star Wars Rogue Squadron was good, but there's like a really good PC version of that, like an updated version of it. Right?
Yeah.
Out there.
I have Rogue Squadron for my N64 too, and I have the expansion pack, but like, yeah, the draw distance is garbage. So like you can never see where anything is unless you get real close to it still. Yeah, the N64 was definitely like that creaky period of video game development where they tried to make the best out of limited resources for the time because that's just where technology was moving, you know. And that stuff even carried on a little bit, like the funky controls a little bit into the early era of the PlayStation 2 and until they started to make that better and better and better.
Yeah. But yeah, like I don't, and this might sound like blasphemous to some people, like I don't feel like I need to play Mario 64 again. Like I've played that game so many times.
Oh, I play that game probably all the way through like once a year.
Once a year.
I love that game.
I know, and it's not me saying like, oh, it's actually bad or some bullshit like that. Like I just like I'm good. I'm good. I'm there's another Mario game coming out soon. I'm not gonna play that. I have a better version of Ocarina of Time on the 3DS and a better version of Majora's Mask on the 3DS. And
yeah, I got those too, and they are pretty good iterations of those games, especially since they've made the water temple a little bit more bearable.
Yeah.
By actually throwing up some like signage up on the walls as to like what you're supposed to be doing, sort of. That wasn't the hardest part of the water temple to me, though. I always thought there was this like one switch or something that you had to hit that was like underneath something that you couldn't see unless you just went for it. And it was dangerous to do that. And like, I don't know, like unintuitive shit like that in video games is what always kills me. You know, like I understand like back in the original NES with the original Zelda game, like it's like, hey, you have to try to light like 800 million bushes on fire before you find the one that actually burns away and reveals a staircase. You know, back then games were rather limited, and that was sort of a new and interesting mechanic, especially for open world exploration. But by the time the N64 rolled around, that kind of like just try it and see if it works bullshit, like should have probably fallen away by then.
Speaking of try it and see if it works bullshit, not to veer away from the SNES classic, I've been playing Sonic Mania on Switch.
Yeah, I'm tapped out on Switch games that I've been playing between Mario and Rabbids and Splatoon and Mario Kart. So yeah, tell us about that Sonic game because it looks cool to me. I definitely want to get it at some point.
So let me close out the SNES thing by saying, Nintendo, make enough for people, please, this time. Let a fucking, like, regular...
They're not gonna fucking do it.
But let me at least get the message out there so that somebody watches. Just let a fucking regular family just go into Target and get one, man. None of this bullshit. Anyway, Sonic Mania. So, okay, the story is, like, there are 2 Sonic games coming out. One has already Sonic Mania, which is not made internally by Sega, or at least it's not a Sonic Team game. And it is basically a 2D, like, it is a new Sonic game, but it's also like this remix of like older Sonic games, where some stages are new and then some stages are like remixes of like games from like Sonic 2, Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic 3, etc. I think it's good. I genuinely, like, specifically, concretely think it is objectively a good game. But
do you think it's better than like Sonic and Knuckles?
You know what? It's been like so long since I played Sonic and Knuckles, so I don't know. Like, it might be like the best 2D Sonic in like a long ass time, but it also cements.
It is also the only 2D Sonic. Well, that's not true. They've had those like Sonic 4, Episode 1, Episode 2 kind of deals.
Nobody likes those though.
No, I think mostly everyone has forgotten they even exist.
But it also is like emblematic of like my relationship with Sonic the Hedgehog, I guess, in that I recognize like the heart and soul poured into Sonic Mania, and some case, most of the time it's fun to play, but some of the stuff about Sonic the Hedgehog's like mechanics like still kind of bug me to this day. I guess because I'm one of those. I'll troll and be an asshole on Twitter. I'm like and say like Sonic was always bad, and it's not. But if I'm giving a more serious answer, it's just weird to me how often that this series like would press the whole like go fast thing, but a lot of the times you kind of get punished for it.
Yeah, the inherent gameplay design of the original 2D Sonic games. Like, I have fond memories of those games. I liked playing them, but like the controls were trash. You know, like if you
Yeah,
were just walking and jumping, like you could see what you're doing just fine. But the fact that the game encourages you to go fast because you're fucking Sonic the Hedgehog, you zoom through the stages so fast that you don't know what the hell's happening until you like crash into like a set of spikes that they decide to just, you know, stick out from a wall horizontally so that you lose all your fucking rings. And you're like, well, shit, that's not any fun. You know, like maybe part of the challenge back then was sort of maybe I'm just trying to come up with something to justify it. I don't know, but
the thing is though,
maybe they wanted you to like memorize the stage design or something so that you could fly through the levels, but it never worked that way for me.
the thing is too, yeah, like the thing is that you can also obviously play them as like any other 2D platformer where you're just jumping to see like to explore areas, and that part is fine.
Those water stages are fucking atrocious too.
And they still are like
They included those in this one too. They haven't like fixed up the controls at all, huh?
There's the funny thing is one of the water stages is the Hydro City. I don't know if it's Hydrocity or Hydro City from Sonic 3, but I had such a hard time with like the boss in that stage, and I'm just like, oh, I'm reminded.
So are these like different stages based in the same world as the old Sonic games, or are these old stages that are repurposed for the new game, or are they
basically
like
that? It's like that because it's not. It's some parts feel like a one-to-one read like one-to-one, I guess, transfer of those stages, but they're pretty long. Like usually, like Sonic and Sonic levels, like you had 10 minutes to do the level, or else like you would lose a life. But like you could pretty much blaze through a level in like under like 2 minutes, let's say. But here, like in Sonic Mania, those stages can go pretty long, and you don't know like how much progress you're making in those levels because you're not just going forward. Like sometimes you'll go up and then left back and then up more and then down and then you're all over the place. So you can take a while, but that's what that's like. They basically extended those stages, and then each stage, I guess, is like an original design or an expansion of that world, I guess. I'm not admittedly versed in like where these Sonic games like I played up to like Sonic and Knuckles, and I played like a little bit of Sonic CD, and that's where 2D Sonic stopped. So everything except for like maybe the Sonic 2 and 3 stages are new to me.
okay?
But like my thing is just generally, I understand too that you don't necessarily like have to go fast in Sonic games, but it's just weird to me that like they designed this damn hedgehog around that. Basically.
Hold on a second. Keep talking, Gus.
Sure. So yeah, it's a good game. It's just representative of why, like, I guess I never really took to Sonic after a while. Although I did play like the Sonic Adventure stuff, but I would still like recommend it to people because I do think like some of the stage design is pretty fun and it's good. And if you like exploring that stuff, some of that stuff is definitely worth checking out and exploring. And maybe it's just I'll definitely it's a testament to my own skills in which like I'll smack dab into an enemy no problem, but I just get frustrated like losing rings all the time. But it is totally worth playing that game for the bosses because some of them are. It's not just you smack a thing X number of times and then it disappears. It gets destroyed. Some of the stages like required like reflex timing and stuff, and one of the stages it's like a spoiled secret at this point. It's like the cat's out of the bag is that in the second level, which is the chemical plant zone from Sonic 2, the final fight against Robotnik or Eggman in that level is you play a round of Mean Bean Machine, which was the Sonic Puyo Puyo game on Sega Genesis. I don't know if you've played that or
no, I didn't. I know that there's Tetris Puyo Puyo right now, but I never knew there was a Sonic one.
Yeah, it was called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and it was actually they used the images from the Sonic Saturday, not the Saturday morning cartoon, the weekday one, because there were two Sonic games back, two Sonic shows back in the day. But yeah, I'm not great at Sonic games, and not huge on like the design and all that, but I would still give a thumbs up to Sonic Mania. And there's also Sonic Forces coming out, which I'm good. If 3D Sonic is your thing, like go right ahead. If you should listen to that theme song if you want to be reminded of music in the year 2004.
Yeah, 3D Sonic has never been my thing. I hear mixed things. Some people like some of them. I hear Sonic Colors by pretty much anybody who's played that game said it's really good, but like, the 06 Sonic and other games like that have been pretty much harpooned by pretty much anybody that, remembers them well.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, the Angry Video Game Nerd not too long ago did a video on that Sonic game.
Oh, on 06?
Yeah.
I just remember like the loading times were apparently like it's just inexplicably long, like unreasonably long.
All right. I have to apologize. I have to mute this podcast. Do you want to hang on?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll ramble about the next game I've been playing because it's near and dear to my heart.
If you want to, it might take me like 5 minutes because I have to apologize because the reason I've been running in and out here in the podcast is my grandfather called me. He came home from the racetrack. My grandmother wasn't home, which isn't like her to be out at night. So there was concern. So my wife left the house to go looking for her, basically, to see if she was off the road somewhere.
Oh, hope everything's all right.
Yeah, I just the reason why I cut out a second ago again is because I just got a phone call from that house. She's home now. So
well, that's good.
Yeah, and so because I'm home alone now, of course the baby's upstairs crying. So if you want to start talking, go right ahead. And I'll cut this part out of the middle of the podcast when we when I make the iTunes version. So I'll come back when I come back.
Okay. So the next game. Okay, so the final. Well, no, I've also been playing Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age, which is an HD re-release of Final Fantasy XII, the International Zodiac Job System version, which is a version of Final Fantasy XII that never came out here in North America, which features two. Basically, you can assign two job systems to the game's characters, and you just apply. It's like the regular Final Fantasy XII. You just assign license points, and you unlock new skills, and you can basically take your characters and make them healers or specialize them in spear weapons and all sorts of stuff. It's very hard for me to get into Final Fantasy XII too much. I'm still in the middle of it, and it is still one of my. It might be my favorite 3D Final Fantasy game, unless you count 9 as a 3D game, which I suppose it is. I always appreciated Matsuno, the director, his World of Ivalice, which has appeared in like Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story, I want to say, and I think like a couple of like Final Fantasy games on the DS, and I love that art style and all that. And the story is basically, for a little bit, it's Star Wars: A New Hope, which if you've seen that, you know how that story goes. And yeah, I'm still in the middle of it. I love that Zodiac job system. A lot of people had points of contention about how you assign gambits, which is like the auto situational system they have, the if then statements that you assign characters so that they perform certain tasks in certain situations. And I think it's still great. They even made it convenient so you can fast forward the game. So If you want to grind for license points or experience, you can just fire up your favorite podcasts like Byte-Size Impressions and just grind away and unlock skills, and hopefully you find the Zodiac Spear, which will annihilate like anything in that game. But mostly what I really wanted to talk about before I went there was Yakuza Kiwami came out this week also. It's actually the same day as Mario and Rabbids. So earlier in the year, the last time Mike and I recorded, I think I had just finished Yakuza 0, which was the prequel Yakuza game to the entire main franchise, set in the 80s and all that. It introduced, it let you play as one of the series' main characters, Goro Majima, for the first time, and I still recommend that game. Yakuza 0 is great. Yakuza Kiwami, translators note, Kiwami means extreme. Yakuza Kiwami is a remake of the first Yakuza game that came out in PlayStation 2 in 2005. And there's a lot of similarities in the engine. I think it basically uses the Yakuza 0 engine, so it's a lot friendlier for newcomers to enter than perhaps like jumping into the PlayStation 2 games would. And they just recently announced Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is the full-fledged remake of Yakuza 2, which is also a good game. And Yakuza Kiwami, there's not a lot to say that I probably didn't say about Yakuza 0. So you play as the main character, Kazuma Kiryu, and you go around, you beat street punks up, and you get license points. Wow. You get experience points to put into skill points, and you go through like this pretty nifty hard-boiled crime drama, and it's a pretty fun game so far. What they did, especially what makes this different, is that, so this is kind of a spoiler in some weird way, but if you didn't play the first Yakuza, and you played 0, you probably, that's your first introduction to Nishiki, who was like Kazuma's like best friend. And he was kind of with you along the way through those events, like helping you out of a jam and stuff. And in Yakuza Kiwami, with, again, the remake of 1, you kind of meet 2 different versions of him. So because the plot is about how the main character, Kazuma, goes to jail for 10 years, you notice Nishiki goes from like being your best friend to like your basically your like mortal enemy. And Yakuza Kiwami fills in those gaps because that first game did not. And Kiwami also introduces like the same combat system as 0. So you have your brawler type, your speedy rush system, and your power beast mode. And you can also actually use the dragon mode, which is the PS2, like the original fighting style in that game, which it's interesting because you unlock the moves for that moveset through the story, but it's like playing the PS2 game again, which it doesn't hold up as well, but you can do all the cool stuff with it. So it's a weird balance of like, do I use this or not? But Kiwami, I really recommend, especially because they launched it at $30, but if you pre-ordered it, you got it for like 23 or something like that. And it came with a steelbook, and they already announced Yakuza 6, Yakuza 6 Song of Life, which is coming out March of next year. Which looking forward to that because I still need to beat Yakuza 5 because that is a long game. And whoever's listening, I really recommend you play. At this point, you probably want to play Yakuza 0 because that's where you meet a lot of the characters for the first time chronologically. Yakuza Kiwami, like you can probably jump into that too, but if you you'll probably run into like some supporting characters here and there'll be references, and you probably might not catch them unless you had played Zero. But it could go either way. And I think Kiwami 2 is coming out in Japan at the end of this year. I don't know how long before it gets announced for the West. Hopefully it does, and it should, because you brought the rest of them over. And that's it for Yakuza. Very much recommended. Thinking about what else I've been playing. I've been playing so many games because like I've been watching people streaming like older titles, so it prompted me to play some older titles. Like I bought Super Mario Galaxy for Wii U, for on Wii by Wii U, and that game holds up pretty well. I got like 70 something stars so far. I'm not. It's like some Mario games. I notice like in like post Galaxy, like they tend to be super easy for the most part until you unlock like the secret worlds, which is where like the real challenge is for like the hardcore quote hardcore players. But Mario Galaxy, that game really tests your reflexes from Galaxy 1, and I find that game, it's not that it's difficult or anything, but like I get thrown off so many times because there are so many areas that you can run like upside down that's all gravity defying and stuff. And it's that game still holds up because I guess I've been on a Mario kick because I've just been playing. I'm sorry, because Odyssey's been coming now, is going to come out in October, so I'm like, let's get some Mario in while I still can. I don't know. I did plan on playing Mario Galaxy 2. I don't know that I'll get to do that before Odyssey comes out. So, we'll see. And I randomly bought Fallout New Vegas on Xbox One because it's compatible with Xbox One, the Xbox 360. Excuse me. And it comes with all the DLC. What's interesting is that they have now repackaged backwards compatible Xbox 360 titles in like in a package that's made to look like Xbox One games. So like it's like it comes in like the green case, and it actually like tells you that it's backwards compatible. I bought because I don't know. I just been I always talk about what a great game Fallout New Vegas is or was, and so far it's so it's held up. Like I love dialogue. I think about how simplistic dialogue was in Fallout 4, and I just wasn't feeling it. And here, I mean, I'm not that far in. I'm only like 5 hours into the game or something like that, but so far so good. I highly recommend everyone play that. You probably get it for like $2 on Steam at this point. And that feels like about it, because like this year has been kind of crazy for games, right? Being we had that front-loaded first like couple of months of 2017, and then I don't know if it ever really got quiet. And I'm sure there were like other releases that came out that like I just completely missed, and hopefully I get around to stuff like that, some of that stuff soon. I actually just finished Nier Automata finally. Well, finished as in I saw the first ending, and then apparently you should go replay the game. You like restart the game from that save file, and then you have to play as 9S, who was the secondary character in that game, to see like his ending. And apparently, because there are endings A through Z, but really like the only ones that matter are like A through E, is my understanding. And that's as far as I haven't gotten that far into the B route of the game, but I'll get there and I'll see the endings when I can. What else? As Mike handles his kid. Oh, I bought Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5 remix on PS4 this is probably the most random game purchase I made this year. And it's I don't know I guess part of it is because they were doing that on Giant Bomb for a while and it didn't look great and I was wondering if that game held up at all. So I started playing it. And so far, like that first Kingdom Hearts game has not held up very well for me. Platforming is not, it's like not fun. The concept is still like kind of fun because it's, you take Final Fantasy characters and you mix them with Disney stuff, and that's a fun concept on its own. But the physical act of playing Kingdom Hearts is not great. Like I hate jumping in that game because it's super floaty. Combat depends on you being locked on to enemies, but all those heartless enemies are like all over the place most of the time, kind of like I am right now. They like bounce back and forth, and once if you get a hit, if you miss a hit, like you're just stuck in that animation while you probably get smacked in the face or something by a fire spell. And this is me now just nitpicking, but if you ever played Kingdom Hearts and you hit one of those heartless guys with your Keyblade, it is like the least satisfying sound ever in a video game. Like you go from Yakuza where like you can hard punch a dude in the face and it feels good because it sounds good, and then Kingdom Hearts, it's like the same kind of sound you make when you flick a blown up balloon, and that's what that sounds like, and it's not satisfying at all. And then I finished the Tarzan world. That's as far as I got. So I'm in Agrabah, the Aladdin world, and that Tarzan world was such a pain to navigate, and it's only like 5 areas, but it's such a pain in the ass to navigate. Excuse me. But I'm gonna hang on, and I'm gonna keep playing through that. It also comes with like I want to say Chain of Memories and 358 days over 2 in here too. So Chain of Memories, yes, 358 over 2 days. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, and then Birth by Sleep, which was at the PSP game, and Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which I think that was a mobile game, but it was also on the DS, right? Nintendo DS. 358 over 2, I think, was on the DS too. I don't even remember. I didn't pick up 2.8 Prologue, which I think is just a re-release of Dream Drop Distance. I might do that eventually. I tried to play Dream Drop Distance when it was on 3DS, but I didn't understand it, and I wanted nothing to do with it. So yeah, I gave up on that. And that's about all I've been playing. Actually, no. I've also been playing Pokemon Sun. Now, I probably, when I spoke with Mike, like the last time or maybe another show, like I was playing Pokemon Moon. And for some reason, like I didn't finish it. And then I traded it in. But then, like, Best Buy had a sale on 3DS games. It was like a buy one, get one thing. And I had just renewed my Gamers Club Unlocked. So I bought Mario 3D Land. And I bought Pokemon Sun, having traded Pokemon Moon to get Splatoon 2. And Pokemon, like, I might go on a break with Pokemon after I break, because Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are coming out, but, like, I don't know. Like, when I played the last Pokemon game that I really got into, I think, might have been, like, X and Y, and then I skipped, like, Alpha, Omega, and whatever Sapphire, yeah. But Sun and Moon, I don't know why. I don't even want to say like it's not doing it for me. It's just like I'm not excited when I play that game, and I don't know why. It's not grabbing me, I guess, as much as the other Pokemon games. But I guess my biggest beef with that game is they made it ridiculously hard to catch. Not ridiculously hard, but they made it obnoxious to catch wild Pokemon because they'll call for help. Like there's an SOS system where a Pokemon can call for help, and then another Pokemon comes down, and you can't catch a Pokemon after it's called for help. So you have to like defeat the one Pokemon and then pray that they don't call for help again, and then you try to capture it. And it's super obnoxious. Like, I understand it's great for like leveling up your team and all that, and you can technically chain it so that a fight goes on forever while you're trying to like level your team up, but it's just not. It just, why do you have to make catching a Pokemon so goddamn hard? No. But yeah, like I do want to finish that game, but I don't know that I'll be playing another Pokemon game until uh the Switch one they announced comes out. And that might be the last game I've been playing. Running out of games to play, so let's go back to Splatoon, or not. Mike has informed me that the child will not go to sleep. Sorry, Gus. Well then. Let's see. Okay, so we gotta cut this. So I hope you enjoyed me rambling about games while Mike went to go do adult things, adult responsibilities. So this was our first podcast in a couple of months, and we're just gonna have the wackiest ending to it. Hopefully next time we'll have a better rapport, and follow Mike at Byte-Size Impressions. You can follow me at Very Gooster on Twitter, and hopefully soon I'll get to record another Fameless Nameless, and we'll catch you next time.